Hello and welcome to the Lou Review Podcast. I'm your host, Rosa Hart. And here at the Lou Review Podcast, I get to interview the people behind the local businesses and nonprofits that are making Louisville, Kentucky, and the overall Kentuckiana area a great place to be. And today with me is Eric Lindsay from the Kentucky Blood Center. Thank you for being here today, Eric.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk today.
I am too. We've been trying to work this out for a while. The Kentucky Blood Center is something that I've been aware of for a while, but we're talking today because you're building a new location in Louisville, and I drive by it every day, and I'm really excited about the opening there. So I want my neighbors and other people in Louisville to be more familiar with what the Kentucky Blood Center does.
hmm
Let's just start with the question that my neighbors put out on like our HOA Facebook page. They're like, why are they going to have a place where people can sell plasma right next to us? And that's not what you do there, right, Eric?
That is not what we do. So we are a community-based local blood bank. We are in the business of collecting generous blood donations from the public to collect, to process, and to distribute to more than 70 hospitals in Kentucky. When folks go into a hospital and need blood for a number of needs that we can get into, we are the folks that are generally providing that blood. There are different organizations that supply that supply the blood to various hospitals, but here in Kentucky, at least Central Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, we are the blood provider. In Louisville, there's a couple different providers. American Red Cross provides some, we provide some. But when you go into a hospital and need blood transfusions, which is one of the most common procedures in a hospital, 1 in 7 people that are admitted to a hospital need a blood transfusion.
Mm-hmm.
That blood actually comes from organizations like us.
Mm-hmm.
Hospitals, healthcare systems have enough to worry about, have enough to do. They are not in the business of collecting blood. They work with organizations like us to make sure that valuable life-saving product is available to them.
Yeah, I know growing up, I'd seen plenty of things in movies where I remember watching Planet of the Apes. I think they did a blood transfusion where they just laid people down next to each other and
Mm.
like attached some hoses. But that's not an option here. So can you talk a little bit about the process that the blood goes through for like making it safe to use?
It is a process that has evolved over the years to be more efficient at people's time, obviously, but to ensure that we are collecting blood in a safe manner. How a general blood donation works is you come in and visit us at one of our donor centers or one of our blood drives. If you're making what's called a whole blood donation, where we're collecting all the different components of your blood, that process takes only about 45 minutes to an hour. The great part is that the collection process, where you have a needle in your arm or collecting the blood, is only actually about 8 to 10 minutes of that process.
Yeah, it's
The
fast.
yeah, so the rest of the time is really dedicated to ensuring that we are adhering to all the safety practices we should. So, you're going through registration, you're answering health history questions, taking your vitals, getting your blood pressure, making sure your hemoglobin is high enough, just making sure that we are doing things so that you as a donor, that you are able to give and are going to not have any adverse effects, but then also the product that we're collecting, that we are collecting a safe product that will eventually go through rigorous testing and separation and eventually distribution to our hospitals. But getting back to what I was talking about, the collection process takes about 45 minutes to an hour, and then there's about a 24 to 48 hour process where the blood is being separated into different components. So there's different components in blood. There's your red blood cells. There is plasma, and then there is platelets that we are primarily collecting and being efficient with the product that you collect. So if you make a whole blood donation, we will separate into those three things and try to impact three lives. Now we do have other types of donations that we can get into. We do platelet donations where we're strictly taking your platelets and giving you back your red blood cells and plasma to try to maximize the platelets. But those are the primary donation tactics you can use. So anyways, the product, we collect it. It goes to all products that we collect end up back at our headquarters in Lexington, at our Beaumont facility. It goes to our components lab where we separate into different products, and also when you're donating blood, we're also taking a few test tubes that are getting tested. So those two processes are going on at the same time. We do a little bit of testing at our Beaumont facility, but most of the tubes end up at a facility in Atlanta. It's a co-op that we have with other blood centers, and they're testing the blood to make sure there's no bloodborne pathogens or diseases in there, making sure that the product is safe and ready to go. So that whole process, the products are being split up, testing is going on both at the same time. Take about 24 to 48 hours. We get the call from Atlanta after, again, 24 to 48-hour period. Blood at that point is the bags are ready to go and ready to be distributed. We get the call, blood is safe, and then that blood goes back out from our Beaumont facility to our 70 plus partners and goes to wherever the need is.
That's awesome. I'm glad you have it down to a science.
It is a
Um,
sign. I talk a lot about it because the logistics, when we talk about the everyday need for blood and where folks like, you always seems like you're asking for blood, it's because, you know, from a healthcare, there things never stop at a hospital. It doesn't care if it's
yeah.
Christmas or some other holiday. It doesn't care if there's a foot of snow on the ground. Hospitals always are in operations and always need blood, and so we always have to ensure that the products are that we are a 365-day a year, 7-day a week, 24-hour operation. We are always collecting blood, always processing, always distributing. We cannot stop because the hospitals do not stop.
Now, that doesn't mean the blood center is open 24/7, right?
From a collection process, we are not open 24/7, but we're pretty
So don't
close
show
to
up at
it.
midnight trying
No,
to donate
don't
a
do
pint of
that. But
blood.
like for example, like during Thanksgiving week, we know that people are not
hmm
donating blood on Thanksgiving, so we're closed on the major holidays. But by and large, I mean we are open as frequently as we can. We have
hmm
8 donor centers in 6 cities. 8 brick and mortar locations. Those are open 6 days a week. They're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturdays from 8 to 2 p.m. And then the other half of our operation is our mobile blood drives, where we are coming to you. We are going to businesses and organizations, places of worship. Schools are really big for us. Really anywhere that will have us that has a suitable operation for us, where we are trying to create convenience and access to where you don't have that excuse of like I can't, I don't have the time to drive down the road to do that. We're coming directly to you so that during your lunch break or right after you get off, or while you're after church, just making it as easy as possible for us to be able to borrow 45 minutes of your time.
Now, you said schools. Now, how old do you have to be to donate blood?
So you can be as young as 16 with parental
Okay.
permission, but once you turn 17, you do not need parental permission. You are free to donate at that point. You do have to weigh
Gotcha.
at least 110 pounds,
Hmm.
and you do need to, very generic here, but need to be in general good health. There are
hmm
certainly things, medical conditions, prescriptions that can preclude you that we will
Yeah.
obviously walk through during the process. But those are really the basic qualifications: is to be at least 16 years old, at least 110 pounds, and be in general good health.
And one thing I like about it is sometimes you offer some really fun incentives for your blood drives, right?
Yeah, we do. Look, we know from doing this for a long time that the biggest motivator behind donating blood is the for doing it for altruistic reasons, that you want to save lives, you want to give back and help your community. And really when we look at our donor base, when you ask people why do you donate, it's ultimately because we talk about 1 in 4 people need a blood transfusion in a lifetime. It's usually those people have known someone. They have personally needed transfusions, or they know somebody and they understand it, and that's the primary motivator. But as you mentioned, there are other things we try to do to incentivize people and to make it worth your time. Because look, we understand people are incredibly busy. We know that people are stretched thin, and you may want to do it for the right reasons, but when you're trying to find time in your day, you might need that extra nudge. So we always are giving away some sort of T-shirt or hat when we can. We give away gift cards from time to time.
Did I
Um,
see somebody won Taylor Swift tickets?
Taylor Swift tickets, yeah,
What in the
that was
world?
yeah, that was a big summer promotion we did, because summer's a time when we that's one of our toughest time for collection. So that is a
Oh,
time period when we try to up the ante a little bit and really motivate people to come in. So yeah, we were lucky this year with Taylor Swift that she just so happened the very last stop on her U.S. tour happened to be up the road in Indianapolis. And when we caught wind of that, we're like, yeah, we got to do something with this. It's not too far of a drive for people in Kentucky, especially Louisville, just a couple hours up the road. So we got our hands on tickets to her final show up there, and we obviously did some other things around it. We were probably infringing upon a little bit trademark some stuff
Don't.
with some T-shirt stuff. We didn't like put Taylor Swift's face on it, but we took one of her lyrics. We instead of "Hi," the T-shirt said, "Hi, it's me. I'm the hero. It's me."
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that
So
though.
everybody got that shirt. We gave away some
Yeah,
friendship bracelets that are big with her fan base. So
that's so.
everybody was walking away with something, but then one lucky donor did win 2 tickets to the show, which, I think everybody knows how popular Taylor
Like,
Swift is, how
wow.
much those tickets are if you don't get in the original, the original sale.
Mm.
So that was
Mhm.
great for us. We had, in addition to meeting the need that we have that time of the year, in addition to seeing an increase in donations, it was also really huge for us to see a big increase in first-time donors, and specifically
Mhm.
with the younger demographic that we have historically always struggled with. We
Mhm.
know they were coming there, and you get back
Mhm.
talking again about motivators. We know those donors, a lot of those younger donors came in to get the Taylor Swift stuff and possibly the tickets, and that's fine. That is
Mhm.
okay. There's nothing wrong with coming in for those reasons. But our hope is that they left. Maybe they knew nothing about blood donation, but they came in and said, you know what? That wasn't so bad. I didn't, I
Mhm.
had this thought in my mind of what it is, but this was way easier. I'd consider doing it again. The
Yeah.
hope is that they left with that experience, and so that the next time we reach out to them, whether it's through email marketing or a commercial they see, or just that we happen to show up with their business, that now that they've had that experience and now they're more likely to donate. And
Yeah.
so we're only a few months removed from the promotion, but we have already seen an impact from that.
Oh, good.
We've already seen about 14% of those first time donors that came in during that period have already come back for a second donation, and that's huge for us.
Wow.
Absolutely
That
huge.
is. That is huge. And I will say, like, I definitely succumbed to the marketing because my first donation to the Kentucky Blood Center was for Aquaman tickets to
There
the
you go.
movie. You got 2 tickets to Aquaman if you got to donate. And so that's what I did. And that was my first time donating. And, I think it's helpful for the timing, right? Because it helps you decide, oh, I guess I'm going to do that now instead of saying, oh, I'll do it one day. It kind of like puts that time limit on it. Well, if I go this week, I can get this incentive.
Yep.
Whereas otherwise, it's a lot easier to just say, oh, yeah, I'll do that one day. And then maybe it will never happen.
You're exactly right, and I'm sure, and maybe that was the reason you came. I don't, everybody has different motivations, but I'll come back to that. You probably had in your heart, I want to do this. I need to do this, and then you see something that a little bit of something that nudges you that says, you
Mhm.
know what, I don't just need to do this in the future. I need to do this week.
Right.
And so those things matter. Those things make a difference, and we're always trying to find creative ways to do it. I mean, we are a nonprofit, so like, and then we can get into this if you want. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
cannot. We are capped on how much we can spend per donor to do these types of
Mm.
things. If we were able to and pay every person that comes in, $100 to 200, whatever it is to do it,
Mm-hmm.
we would explore doing it, but we cannot because we are
Mm-hmm.
regulated by the FDA, and there's only so much we can do. We
Mm-hmm.
cannot give a donor anything that is directly transferable, so we cannot pay them cash. The
Mm-hmm.
reason behind that is the FDA says if a blood product is going to be transfused to a human being,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot give them anything that is directly transferable. That's different from what you typically see. People say, well, why can plasma centers do that? Well, when you go donate with the plasma center, that product is only generally being used for pharmaceutical use, which is incredibly important. I do not want to
Oh.
devalue that. That if you decide to go that route, there is definitely a huge impact and a great importance to it.
Mm-hmm.
But that is where we differ from plasma centers that people traditionally see, and like, I don't understand the difference here. Why can I
Mm-hmm.
get paid for one, and over here I can only get a T-shirt or gift card? That's the reason why.
Wow. Because, yeah, okay, that's a good clarification. Yeah, and so if there were a local business who wanted to like help out with the incentives, what types of things could you partner with to provide as incentives if they wanted to do that?
We can give away. It's a little bit of a gray area, but we can give away gift cards to a certain dollar value. So if you're someone that wants to contribute gift cards, we do movie tickets a lot. We work
Mm-hmm.
with movie theaters in the different towns to do things like that. But we are open to anything and everything. I mean, we do giveaways. We obviously are big in the, I don't know if you can see right now, I'm wearing a
Hmm.
T-shirt. We do these types of
Hmm.
T-shirts all the time.
Yeah.
We are open to any ideas that you think might motivate someone.
Yeah.
And I'd say, look, our target audience, we mentioned, a few minutes ago, you can donate blood at the start of 16 years old, but we have donors all the way. We have donors in their 80s that are donating. I
Hmm.
mean, so our target audience is very broad, and what might be attractive to some is not
Hmm.
attractive to others. So we're always switching
Yeah.
it up. We don't have sort of one demographic we're focusing on. We don't
Hmm.
we don't have that luxury. We have to constantly, so for example, the Taylor Swift tickets, which
Hmm.
again, I guess her fans. She kind of has across the spectrum. Everybody's a fan of hers, but there's no doubt that was definitely an incentive or promotion that was targeted at a younger donor
Hmm.
base. So I'm sure there were folks that came in that were like, that doesn't do it for me. So our next promotion, maybe we need to think about our 50 and over donor. When we're thinking about like a T-shirt design, we need to think about something that those donors may like. So
Yeah.
getting back to your original
Exactly.
question, we're open to anything and everything. Anything that if you're a business hearing this and you think I think this would be a good partnership and I think we can incentivize people to do a really good deed, give us a call. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, just going back to like the community need that you're meeting, I'll share my personal motivation for donating is my blood type is O negative, which y'all already know. You got my number. The Red Cross has my number. Y'all want to remind me to donate every day, but which is fine. But working in the ICU as a nurse, I've seen patients who are bleeding out and they need their blood transfused, and they are O negative. And there's been more than one occasion where, I would be running up from the blood bank down in the basement with FFP and, anything, platelets, anything we could give them, but we didn't have O negative red blood cells. Those had been sent out of state to national disasters, which, I'm glad that there was something to send to national disasters, but there was no O negative red blood cells in the tri state area. Like, we called down to Nashville, we called up to like Cincinnati, we called up, trying to get us, I think they called up as far as Chicago. I don't know. Just trying to get some O negative. And so that's really scary for me to think about it. What if I was that patient? What if it was me with O negative? And if anybody doesn't know, the blood type O negative is a universal donor. So that sounds really great and generous, but it is not a universal recipient. So we really need to be able to receive O negative back. We're very specific about that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it does no good. And so I found out about the Kentucky Blood Center, and once I realized that the blood stays in Kentucky and is administered to people in Kentucky, I was like, when I donate, I want my blood to stay in Kentucky because that's where I am in case I need it. And so it's selfish, but at the same time, that's why I really resonate with the local need. What other needs would you say that the Kentucky Blood Center is able to meet here locally that would fill in gaps left by other national options?
Yeah, there's a couple things I want to tackle there. First of all, we do. The facts are that it's about 62 to 64% of the population is eligible to give blood that meets all the requirements. Unfortunately, only about 3% do. So when it comes to just that initial decision as to whether or not to donate blood, the first thing I would say is whether or not you donate with us or a different organization, we applaud you for coming to that
Mm-hmm.
decision to donate blood because it is a very real need. You were talking about the story where you have seen firsthand where there is not enough blood. I mean, that's heartbreaking. That is something
Mm-hmm.
as a local blood bank we want to ensure never happens. We want to make sure that there's so many other things that healthcare officials have to worry about. They are doing literally life-saving work. The thing we cannot afford to have happen is there not be enough blood for them to do their jobs. From our standpoint, that's unacceptable. We have to ensure that does not happen. But we do think, if you're hearing this interview, this podcast, and you're saying, oh, you know what, I do want to make that decision to donate blood. We do think there is something to be said about the blood staying local. We are Kentucky's local blood bank. When you donate with us, that blood is staying in our state borders. As I mentioned at the top, We supply blood to 70 plus hospitals in Kentucky. Um, there are other organizations that collect blood, and that blood goes out other places. And because there is a need, there is a national need, and we certainly respect that. But I do think if you're a donor that is making that decision, and you have a decision to make, well, I know this blood is could be going right down the street to help my neighbor, to help a friend, to help a family member. I think that means a little extra something. And so, I do want folks to know that we are your local blood bank. That blood is staying here. But um, getting to, again, you mentioned, specifically, O negative, and not having anything on the shelves. The only way we can prevent that from happening is for donors to come in and give their generous time. We hear from people all the time. If you make it on our call list, or you see our commercials, it seems like we are constantly asking for blood. And I think some folks are always like, gosh, you guys call too much, or it seems like you always need blood. And
To be fair, it's not every day. It's
or
like
no,
after the
we
time
we
frame has
we,
passed
we
where it's
but
safe.
we
So
we are
I didn't want to
aggressive.
make it
But
sound
the
like it was
No,
harassing or
not you,
anything.
not you. I'm just talking about general. We hear it from
Yeah.
people all the time, and we know we have to be a little aggressive. We have to
Hmm.
be persistent, and some would say a little over the top and annoying. We have to be,
Hmm.
because we are talking about lives at stake.
Yes, we are.
When it comes to a situation like that, where you're operating on someone that needs the blood there, it's too late at that point. The blood
Right.
has to be on the shelves. When the need
Hmm.
is there, we have to, as a blood bank, ensure that the blood is when you need it and where you need it at that time. And so when we are calling and emailing folks and putting out commercials and appeals, that's because there's a very real need. And so, like, for example, you can look at our website today. We keep, we have all the different types up there and where our current blood levels are.
Yeah,
And
you have this really nice visual aid here. But it does say O negative is in low supply, and then A negative is a critical need. What's the difference between a critical
yeah,
need and a low
that's a great
supply?
question. That's a great question. And so when folks hear that, they're like, what does critical need? What critical mean? That means that at Kentucky Blood Center, we have a half day's supply or less to provide our 70 plus hospitals. Now that's our personal inventory. Obviously, each hospital
Hmm.
has their own blood bank that they receive from us. But the worrisome, and I always hesitate using the word scary, but it is scary. The scary
Yeah.
thing there is, if we only have a half day supply, and God forbid something tragic happens in the community, a bus accident, God forbid a shooting, something that uses an incredible amount of blood, and then we
Hmm.
get a call that says we need, you know, so and so many pints of blood, and we don't have it. This is where lives are
Yeah.
impacted. The example you gave, this is where
Yeah.
now we are at a situation where lives are clearly being affected, where medical officials are now put in a position where they have to make difficult decisions, and either the person that's on the table doesn't have the blood they need, or someone that is, for example, needs an organ transplant and needs 10 units of blood, that surgery has to get put on hold, or a cancer patient that might need a couple bags of platelets, that, hey, you know what, we can only give you one today. And we, unfortunately, the example you gave, we have heard stories like that. And
Yeah.
again, it is our job to ensure that it doesn't happen. And we will do whatever we can. We talked about the marketing tactics and the communications we do. It is our job to ensure that doesn't happen, but we are reliant on people in the community coming in. Ultimately, we can't do anything if donors don't come in and give their time, because blood is something that cannot be manufactured. With all the improvements in medical science, the one thing we have not yet figured out how to do is to manufacture blood. It takes real people giving real time to do it. Now, maybe in the future we figure out how to manufacture blood, and businesses like us adapt, and that would be great. We would love for that to happen, because again, we know that we're able to serve people in need. But as it stands right now in 2024, the only way we can serve people that need blood is for people to give their time, and to give it on the front end, to be proactive, because it is a proactive procedure.
Is there a way, are there any volunteer or advocacy campaigns that people can help with as well?
We are always looking for advocates of people that will, for a blood donation. We don't have any current volunteer positions in our organization. It is either part-time or full-time work. But there are definitely ways that you can advocate for blood donation, because again, as we mentioned, only about 62 to 64% of people are eligible or can give blood. Well, that's a
Mm-hmm.
huge chunk that can't give it. That doesn't mean that you still can't help this industry, that you can't be advocates. So let's say, for example, you are, whether you can or can't give blood, but you want to figure out a way to make a different impact. Well, you can host a blood drive. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you're at a place of employment that you know has a lot of employees that you think we could plug into, or that is at a place that can dial into the community. We are constantly in need of people and places to host blood drives at. You know, I mentioned before about 50% of our blood collections comes from those mobile drives where we are going out into the community,
Mm-hmm.
and we are constantly seeking places to visit to do that, because we know, again, only 3% of people donate blood, and there's various reasons why that is. But
Yeah.
you know, one of those is that we got to be better about getting into the community and getting into new places, because convenience and access is half the battle. You know, we know it's a procedure that people are not waking up at the day saying, "Ah, I can't wait to have a needle in my arm and donate blood." We understand that. We don't shy away from that. But if we can make it as easy as possible for people to donate, that gets them closer to donating. So we're always looking for places to host blood drives. And so if you're one of those people that, again, whether you can donate or can't donate, but you're thinking this is my way of making impact, we'd love to work with you.
Yeah, definitely. And do you have an estimated opening date for the new Louisville location in Middletown?
So we were actually we just opened a few weeks ago.
What?
Yeah,
When did this happen? I've been
we were
driving
open.
by waiting for this.
No,
Was there a sign with balloons? I didn't see
we did
balloons.
not do like a, you know, you typically will work with the Chamber of Commerce there
Yeah.
and we will do that. We'll have a big
Okay.
grand opening.
Okay.
We
Big
did more of
thing.
a soft opening because
Gotcha.
that operation there. So we have been in Middletown. We were just a few miles down the road. So
Oh, I
we
gave
were
it the old Middletown
Yeah,
location.
so
Yeah.
we were on the other side of the Gene Snyder, which was a great location for us. That was actually our first center in Louisville that we started there about 10
Oh.
years ago. It was a great home for us, but we had kind of outgrown it. We you know that we were having some operational difficulties,
Mm-hmm.
and so as we looked to, and we you know we were just leasing that location.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to own and operate our own building, and so as we looked around different areas, you know, we wanted to remain in the Middletown area, but we know that where we're at, the address is 14002 Shelbyville Road. Um, Again, only a couple miles down the road, but now we're even closer to a couple of really big residential communities. We're right there next to Copperfield, right there next to Lake Forest, Landis Lakes. I mean, that area there is, again, when we talk about the deciding factor for donors when they're figuring out, do I have enough time to donate blood? Okay, for tens of thousands of people, we just got 5 to 10 minutes closer to you. You know, we talk the Eastwood area, which is growing every day. We just got a little bit closer to them. So those were kind of the factors. And when we were looking, okay, where do we want to build this new location at? We know that other area was really valuable. It's incredibly busy, but it almost became a little bit too busy. I mean, it's hard to get through some of that Middletown area.
Well, and there was not a great amount of parking either.
No.
So, yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm really excited because getting through that Gene Snyder intersection on Shelbyville Road is like, it would definitely make or break the decision for
yeah,
real.
I actually
Yeah.
grew up in that area. I grew up in
Oh, yeah.
Copperfield, and it's hard for me to believe how much that area has grown and just
Mm-hmm.
how busy it is there now. But getting across the Gene Snyder on Shelby Road, I mean,
Yep.
that sometimes it used to before when I was young there, just like that was a no big deal. And now, like sometimes, like I don't know that I want to deal with going past the Gene Snyder that
It's
traffic. So
I literally will get on Google Maps before I go somewhere and I will see how long is it going to take me to get through there. Like Google, how
exactly.
long does it take me to get to Target through that intersection before
Yep.
I leave? Or should I just wait an hour and see if the traffic clears up?
Yep. So yeah, I mean those were all factors, and it remains to be seen. I mean, we you know we put a lot of thought and crunched the numbers of what was going to be a good location. We could be wrong, and you know we hope that's not the case, but it'll take years to figure out if that was a good move for us. But in the first couple weeks, I mean, so far we have had nothing but positive feedback from our donors. I was there on the first day, and like in the first 2 hours, heard just being a fly on the wall and doing some other stuff. I happened to hear multiple donors say, this is so much easier to get into. I just made like 2 turns and I was here. I just lived down the street."
Yay!
That's what we want to hear. You know, again, if
Yes.
it makes it easier for donors, they're more likely to donate.
Mm-hmm. It is. Convenience is a huge factor.
Yep.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Lou Review podcast to share your story of how you're making the Louisville area better, literally, with a better blood supply. And if you are not already, please subscribe to the Lou Review podcast. You can follow me on @RosaRaves and also @NurseRosaSpeaks. And I am planning to do some posting next time I donate blood at the Kentucky Blood Center. So be on the watch out for that, because I'd like to share my experience in the new place. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you.